Good morning, everyone. First, let me begin by thanking Cynthia and Anthony and everyone, of course, at the Center for Evidence-Based Crime Policy and West Ed for this invitation. I am truly pleased to be here. As the director of the Research and Evaluation Arm within the Department of Justice, I've said anytime I get an opportunity to convey the important work that we are doing, count me in. So thank you. I am really impressed with the variety of substantive experts that you have brought here today. I think together they certainly provide quite an overview of the continuum of work around violence and crime that really are facing our country, the topics that we are facing in our country. So I know that once you leave, you will certainly have a much better understanding about the current state of work in their respective areas. Today, what I'd like to do briefly is just two things. One, convey the importance of investing in research in the area of crime and justice, and highlight some of the efforts that we are undertaking at NIJ to advance work in criminal justice. So today, I am pleased to be able to announce that by the end of the fiscal year, which is here in a couple of days, we will have awarded 227 research and development awards totaling over $157 million. These awards, of course, address every aspect of criminal justice, from victimization and crime to technology and forensic science. And while this may seem like a sizable amount of grant funding, I'd like to remind you that this is a relatively small amount of investment that we make when you compare it to some of our science agencies. For example, NSF, which has an investment of about $7 billion annually, and NIH at about $21 billion. This is so striking to me and hopefully striking to you as well, given this critical juncture that we find ourselves in. So now let me say a few words about what we are doing at NIJ to convey our long-term commitment to advance this work. First, we are thinking very strategically about research in the area of criminal justice. So for example, just several weeks ago, we released our strategic plan on safety, health, and wellness, and are getting ready to release our strategic plans in the area of policing, corrections, and sentinel events or errors in the criminal justice system. These plans for us, of course, not only address the current needs for criminal justice professionals who respond to violent crime and seek to prevent it, but I think they will also allow scientists and researchers from a diverse disciplines to plan for future partnership opportunities. So for example, the Safety, Health, and Wellness Plan in part seeks to explore the mechanisms to prevent and treat the trauma that comes from experiencing violent acts, whether an individual is a police officer, a suspect, a correctional officer, an inmate, or a family member. Our policing plan will explore research opportunities to improve how law enforcement respond to violent crime and work with communities to prevent it. The corrections plan will seek to identify evidence-based ways to improve the operations of corrections and supervision and monitoring as we continue to depopulate jail and correctional institutions. And our Sentinel Events Plan will explore how reviewing errors in criminal justice, some of which may be violent, for example, a death in custody, can identify policy and practice changes that could prevent that from happening again. Second, we continue, of course, to support scientific investigations that will improve our capacity as a nation to respond to violence. For example, as jurisdictions across the country adopt or consider the use of technology, we know that the evidence base in some of these areas is rather thin or non-existent. That is why NIJ was the first to fund high-quality, rigorous evaluations on body-worn cameras in cities like Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Also, While ShotSpotter and other gunshot detection technologies have long been used to support, respond, investigate, and prevent gun violence and related crime, there have been few evaluations of their use and impact on violence reduction outcomes. That is why we are funding the Urban Institute to examine how law enforcement deploy gunshot technology systems. To what degree does it reduce response time, enhance investigations, and reduce gun violence if the technology resulted in spatial displacement of the crime or diffusion of benefits? And of course, the cost effectiveness of the technology. NIJ is also supporting researchers at the University of Missouri at St. Louis to look at the criminal justice response to gun-related crimes by creating an integrated database to track information on firearm offender outcomes from arrest to sentencing. We are also working very closely with the Office for Victims of Crime and the Office of Violence Against Women to support research in various areas like tribal crime, intimate partner violence, understanding the experiences of at-risk groups such as young men of color, and the financial cost of victimization along with human trafficking. Lastly, our comprehensive school safety initiative supports research on the root causes of school violence and invests in violent programs that develop, implement, and test new strategies and technologies to enable state, local, and tribal communities to improve the safety of schools and students. As you can see, science informs so much policy and practice. Science provides us with the knowledge of the causes, the consequences, and characteristics of community-based solutions to violence. That is why I am so excited to be here today. You have some of the brightest minds on violence research in the room. I hope that you will listen to their presentations with an eye towards clarifying the challenges we as a nation face and identify possible solutions that you can support. But I leave you with this important point. You cannot build evidence without resources. As scientists, we can build partnerships, we can design good studies, we can advance the dissemination and implementation, we can promote relationships between practitioners and researchers, but none of this will happen without funding and skilled scientists to carry out that work. So again, I thank you for being here and look forward to this wonderful discussions with these great minds. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. We're going to have a bit of a switch in the program. We are actually waiting for our backup projector to show up.